Welcome back. This is video 4. So if you've missed all my other videos, you are probably going to be lost, but this is our beginner tutorial for Lightworks here. I hope you've enjoyed the videos. If you have already watched those other ones up to this point and you found them useful, if so, hit that thumbs up and subscribe button. Consider becoming a patron because this was a patron recommended video. And because of that, it got a priority status and they got to hang out in the Telegram group where they got to make the recommendation and talk to other patrons there who are supporters of this channel. So let's get into the effects, adjustments, transitions, and some keyboard shortcuts. Now there are tons of keyboard shortcuts to utilize, and they are within the manual of Lightworks. So they have a visual of an actual keyboard. I'll have a link to it below, and you'll be able to see all the various shortcut keys if you're big into that. I use a couple, pretty much predominantly just 5 or 6 shortcut keys that we'll go through here. The first two, my favorite, are A and S. So if we click down here in the timeline and I click A, this is going to cycle between all of my cut points, or basically any major thing that is in this timeline here. It's going to allow me to quickly move backwards hitting A or forward hitting S. And this is one of my favorite tools, because if I want to mark a section, this is generally what I'm using. So this is a video that's actually going to get published. So if you followed this tutorial, you could go and watch the final product here. But we've added some things in, like we have the nice text scrolling, but we have some hard cuts. So it's not going to be as easy. And honestly, I personally don't care about hard cuts. I leave them in my videos, but that's because I'm not a professional and I'm not making, the next Matrix movie or anything. But hard cuts are not for everybody. Some people want that smooth transition. So in order to do that, let's hit the S key and get to a point where we have a cut, and we can watch that here. How to do that real quick. You can see it just kind of switches immediately to the next scene. So if I want at this cut point, what I can do is just right click, and you're going to see there's an option to add in a transition. Additionally, there is a length of frames. So how many frames I want the transition to go for. 30 frames seems like a pretty good starting point. The position options we have is, do I want it to transition to here? So do I want to go from to here to this point that I've marked? Or from here. We could do from here in this case. And then I'm going to go ahead and choose if I want to dissolve, a Luma wipe, a push. So it's going to push it away, a squeeze, or a wipe. So in this case, let's just do kind of a nice Luma wipe here. It seems like a good one. So now you can see it's added this transition phase here. So if we go through with the cut, how to do that real quick. The first thing you can see, it's a little more smooth as it transitions in. Now I have another area here where I've got a cut that I want to kind of do a transition between. So again, I'm going to go here, I'm going to right click, I'm going to add a transition. This time, let's make a dissolve. Oops, I didn't change the from, to, or here, but we'll just leave it as is and see how it looks. Lines under software information. So that's a nice dissolve that it made there. And we can add in some more for maybe between this spot and the screenshot, which looks like up with your phone, except that now. And that's kind of a hard transition because of 2 different screens, and this has black all around it. So let's add in another transition point, and we're going to add it for the same amount of time. Let's do 2 here this time, and let's do a Luma wipe again. And so you can see it's set before the cut point with your phone, except when you plug it in. That's a nice little transition, nice and smooth. And we're going to need one more right here, which should solidify this in your minds of how to add transitions in. And we'll do another dissolve. So at the end, and once that's set up, all we have to do is install. Isn't that beautiful? So SCRCPY in this case. All right, so that is how you can add transition effects in there. So an additional keyboard is keyboard shortcut is you hit the space bar. AUR to install. That's a quick way for you to play. If you want Arch, if you're like me and you use mark in and out, you can use the I key to mark in versus having to go up here and click. And you can go over here and hit the O key, and that's mark out. And you can clear them all with P. And if you forget, you can just hover over these icons here, and it will tell you what the key is that you can use. The other one that I like to use, of course, and we've talked about this before, is the C. That's if you just want to make a hard cut. Now, typically, I don't use this very often. I usually do the mark in and mark out because most of my edits are just removing, you know, ums or long pauses or stupid things that I'm saying. So I do a lot of edits. A lot of edits. All right. And the last shortcut key I want to remind you of is if you go up here and you have 2 monitors and you want this in full screen as you're doing your edits, just hit F12, and that, you can't see it, but puts it in a full screen on my second monitor so that I see it here, but I also see this in full screen on my second monitor. So it makes it easier for reading text and things like that. So those are some of my favorite keyboard shortcuts. So now what I'm going to do is show you some of the audio options that we have here. Now, in my case, I'm using a pretty expensive audio setup kit and mic with the DBX286, etc. So there's not a lot of, most of my editing for the audio is done through the DBX. It does the gating and all of that stuff. But if you don't have that type of tool, you can of course utilize some of these effects here to add them in for you. So, you know, these all have descriptions for what they do. So reduce female sibilance, 5 to 7 kilohertz, controls S&Ts, boost first, then sweep EQ frequency from 5 to 7 kilohertz to identify problem sibilance in a female vocal. This would be if you're a male vocal and you have some issues. Reduce soundtrack presence. So if you have a voiceover sitting on top of a musical track, you could utilize this. And you could see, you could do from here, which is where your slider is, and how many frames you want it to go through, or, you know, you can do feet and frames and those different things, and then you apply that effect. So those are some audio options that you have. Also, if you're playing, so I'm scrolling through some Mastodon, you can see here where our text is coming from. It's coming from A5 application, and I can lower the volumes here. You could do it wired or if I want to, or I can turn them off if I'm editing A1 and A2 and just want to hear those. So these are some ways that you can do some additional audio effects. Now, one of the things that people really love to do if you're making YouTube content is kind of a picture-in-picture mode. So that's the effect that I'm going to show you next. In order to pull that off, I'm going to add a track, which we've not shown before here because all of our tracks have been added. We can add a video, add audio, or add multiple. In this case, I just want to add a video track. So now I have this V1 and I have this FX track. And what I want to do is, I don't need it for this video, so I'm going to pull it out. But I'm going to go ahead and put that screenshot. This is a nice run of area. I'm going to put that screenshot over top this area here. So let me take the screenshot and kind of drag it in to V1. Why is it not letting me drag that in? It's letting me drag video in, but it's not allowing me to drag the picture in, which is kind of odd. I don't know why it's not allowing me to do that. Interesting. So I think what happened is once I moved another picture in, you can see I can drag that picture in. I wonder if I have to duplicate this because it's already the screenshot. I can add videos in as many as I want. Might be another bug that we discovered here. I can add videos in no problem, but does not want me to add in another picture. And I don't want to add the videos in. You can see when I'm moving a video over, if I want to do an overlay here, that the audio needs to go somewhere. And you don't really want to overwrite. In this case, actually, I could overwrite here because this is blank, but you really don't want to overwrite, in most cases, your audio. So you'd want to add additional audio tracks. And if you did that, then you would be able to, as you can see, I can move it into the blank. I can move the audio into the blank space and have that video over effect. But usually what you're wanting to do is add a still picture over. And so I brought another, by the way, I use Arch picture in here, and we're not going to keep this in here. We're just kind of showing it. And I'm going to show you again the ability to trim this without affecting other pictures because I don't want it that long. So I just clicked on that box there and I've trimmed that arch down, and now I can turn on my other tracks here and not have them affected by this move. And what I'm going to do is click A. I'm going to do a mark in, and then I'm going to mark out. I'm going to put my cursor in the middle so that I can see this picture. And right now you can see it's covering everything underneath. But we kind of want a picture-in-picture view. So this is where we go back to VFX. We're going to add in new effects. And here we're going to change from text to DVE. Now we can do 2D or 3D. I'm going to do a 2D DVE. And oh, I clicked it too fast. Let me remove that. Let's go here, do 2D, just image size, position, and opacity. So now what I can do is I can shrink this up or move this across its position here. I can scale it and shrink it down. I can also grab this and move it where I want it. So I can also come up here and shrink it in this box. And I can move, by the way, I use Arch into the video here. That's actually kind of funny. I might leave that there. Just randomly pops up there. It'll really make people mad. I love it. All right, and you can see it's only impacting this area that we've added in here that we've marked with the frames, the keyframes that we have. So now if I go back to my edit and then I clear out any of my markings and then I play here, and you could do it wired or wirelessly. Now we're going to put up some Shattered Pixel Dungeon, which I know Zeb from the Destination Linux podcast. And you can see that it pops in with the games, so I use Arch, by the way, and it's still showing the video behind it. So that is how you do a picture-in-picture mode. You can also do it with video by adding in the audio tracks as I showed, and then you add that DVE effect in. You can also do a 3D effect on that, which basically kind of makes it look like it's coming at an angle and those type of things, but typically 2D DVE works perfectly, and you can add in those additional layers or videos, or you could even do the whole Brady Bunch thing. You could have 4 different videos playing at the same time if you wanted to. So very powerful effect there that you can utilize. I can't believe I almost forgot the most important thing. We're done with the video. So now we need to export the video so that we can utilize it on YouTube or send it to a friend or burn it to a DVD, whatever you want to do. So to do that, how I do it anyways, is I right click here in the sequence, and then I'm just going to click export. Now you can see we have lots of options here in export. We can do a Blu-ray, DVD, Vimeo, YouTube. You can also set it up so that it automatically logs you into YouTube and will upload it for you. But you can see when we choose one of these options, we have the frame rate here. We have the size, whether we want it 1080p, 1440p, 2160, 2K, etc. And we can set a name for where we want this to go, as well as the destination. So right now it's going to save this exported file as home DasGeek documents, and it's going to save it in a format that is YouTube friendly, and for a region it's going to ignore the leading and trailing black. We could do the marked section if we only want to export that, or the whole sequence. We can have it upload directly to YouTube, like I said, if you log in, but we can set a name for this document here. So this is a SCR CPY tool video. And once I click start, it's going to basically start exporting this video into a YouTube format. But what I want to do is just show you that there are more options here available as well. If I clicked Blu-ray, for instance, I have some more options here to choose for Blu-ray formats. If I want, I can also just go to H.264 directly, and I can go all the way up to 4K 60 frames per second if I want to. There are just tons of options for you depending on what format you want to use. You can export it as a movie. You can just export WAV. You can do different camera formats, all kinds of options for you, professional options for you to export your videos. In this case, we're going to do the 60 frame per second, 1080p, and we're going to name this the SCRCPY, and I'm going to go ahead and click start. And what you're going to see is the background task has started, and it is going to start rendering and exporting the sequence, and it will be ready for us in the home DasGeek documents, and then you can do with the file what you will. So that is everything that I wanted to show you. Right now, this video is completed. I have my beginning, my end. We've added in some effects, some text effects. We've done the picture-in-picture. We've adjusted some of the audio over here to lower it. I've shown you how you can add in and do other audio effects and VFX. I'm not an expert in those areas, so that's why I'm not diving deep into them. I just utilize the things that I need in order to do my content. So hopefully that gives you the kickstart that you need to get into Lightworks and start utilizing it. And what I love is a lot of these tricks that I'm learning, while the key bindings may not be the same, they are adaptable in other video editing platforms such as Caden Live or Olive, where once you kind of get used to one, you kind of understand the general concepts of what should be in a good video editor for the purposes and things that you utilize. But just understand there's a lot more to Lightworks than this. There are so many different effects and different things that you can do with colors and tones and just all kinds of amazing little things that if you are into making some perfect Casey Neistat type videos, you can certainly do that in Lightworks. It is powerful enough for that. Let me know in the comments below what you think. This is the end of the Lightworks tutorial series. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, get out there and fill your brains. Don't forget to subscribe. Like the video.